Welcome to i-TUTOR Economics NCERT series. In the last class, we have started the topic investment. What is meant by investment? The term investment generally means using money to earn income or profit in the future. Okay, so today let's look at the Keynesian meaning of investment. Keynes focused on real investment. Okay, not just financial investment. He focused on real investment. Real investment means spending on capital goods like machines, factories, roads or buildings which increase the productive capacity of the economy. So, investment refers to the expenditure on capital formation or creation of real assets. Therefore, investment is equal to addition to capital stock of the nation. Okay. Now, what are the different types of investments? What are the different types of investments? Let's look at it one by one. First one, autonomous investment. Autonomous investment refers to the investment that is independent of the level of income or output in the economy. Okay, in other words, we can say that even if people's income falls or rises, this kind of investment remains unchanged. It is usually undertaken for social welfare or long-term development and not for immediate profit. So what are the key features? They are independent of income. That means it does not vary with national income. Then it is welfare oriented, usually done by the government or public institution. Then it is essential for development. That means it helps in providing infrastructure like roads, bridges, schools, charitable houses and so on. Then what about the next feature? It is not affected by changes in wages, raw material prices or interest rate in the short run. And also it remains constant even during depression. It helps to revive the economy. For example, construction of roads, bridges and dams. Then establishment of schools, setting up charitable institutions, then government spending on the public utilities and rural development. So in an economy, investment can be broadly divided into two types, autonomous investment and also induced investment. Autonomous investment means it refers to the expenditure on capital formation like roads, bridges, schools, hospitals and so on that does not depend on the change in income, profit or interest rate. Even if the income in economy rises or falls, this investment remains unchanged. It is income inelastic. Hope it is clear. Then we talked about the characteristics of autonomous investment. What are they? It is independent of economic activity. Then it is made mainly by the government for welfare and development purposes, not affected by short-term changes. Then it is also essential in the development of nation. Okay. Then what about induced investment? What is meant by induced investment? Induced investment is the expenditure on fixed assets and stocks that changes with the level of income and demand in the economy. So when national income increases, business invests more to expand production. When income falls, investment also decreases. Thus, there is a direct and positive relation between income and induced investment. What are the characteristics of induced investment? Yes, they are profit motivated. That means it depends on expected returns. Then it is income elastic. Autonomous investment was income inelastic and it is income elastic. That means it changes when income changes. Then they are mostly made by private investors and entrepreneurs. They are mostly made by private investors and entrepreneurs. It is also positively sloped in investment income diagram. What are the examples of induced investment? Investment in new factories or machinery when demand increases. Then business is expanding production due to rise in sales. Then purchase of additional stock when income and consumption rises and so on. So in short, there are two types of investment, autonomous investment and induced investment. Autonomous investment is it is welfare oriented and induced investment is profit oriented. Now let's look at the determinants of investment function. Classical economists like J.B.C. and Ricardo believe that investment depends only on the rate of interest. But according to Keynes and modern economists, the decision to invest actually depends on many other economic, social and psychological factors, not just interest rate. So let's look at them one by one. First one, rate of interest. The most important traditional factor is rate of interest. When the rate of interest is high, borrowing becomes costly, so investment falls. So when the rate of interest is low, what happens? Firms find it cheaper to borrow and therefore investment increases. Thus, there is an inverse relationship between interest rate and investment, that I is equal to 1 by R. So that's about rate of interest. Then level of uncertainty. What does that mean? Investment decisions depends on business confidence. In the future, if the future is uncertain, like during wars, inflation or political instability, investors hesitate to invest. On the other hand, stable conditions encourage investment. Then, what about political environment? A stable and investor-friendly government promotes business confidence. If the political situation is unstable or policies keep changing, investors postpone or cancel their project. Then rate of growth of population is also a determinant of investment function. How? When population grows rapidly, demand for goods and services also rises, which encourages more investment in production and infrastructure. However, slow population growth may limit market expansion. Then, stock of capital goods. If a country already has adequate capital equipments like machines, tools, factories, etc., new investment will be high or low? Yes, it is low. But if the stock of capital goods is old or insufficient, what happens? Fresh investment will be necessary. Then, necessity of new products. How it is a determinant of investment? When consumer demands new and better products, firms invest more in research or development and production to satisfy that demand. For example, investment in electric vehicle or AI-based products. It is a necessity of new products. Then, level of income of investors. Higher income and profit, it encourages investors to save and invest more. If income falls, saving and capacity to invest decline. Okay. Then inventions and innovations. New technological discoveries or innovations increase productivity and it helps to open new business opportunities. For example, investment boom after invention of the internet or smartphone or solar energy technology. Then how consumer demand is a determinant of investment function? Okay, think like when people's demand for goods and services increases, business expect higher profit and expand production, and it lead to more investment. When demand falls, investment slows down. Then policy of the state. Government policies like tax incentives, subsidies, ease of doing businesses and low interest loans, they all encourage investment. But high taxation or complex regulations, it will discourage it. Then availability of capital. If banks and financial institutions provide easy loans, investment rises, and shortage of credit or high collateral requirements restrict investment. And the last determinant is liquid assets of the investors. Investors with more liquid assets like cash or easily sellable securities, they can invest more quickly when opportunities arise. And lack of liquidity reduces the ability to invest even if opportunities exist. Okay. Then what is Keynes' view on investment decision? Keynes challenged the classical view that investment depends only on the rate of interest. Classical view was that investment depends only on the rate of interest, and Keynes challenged it. He argued that business expectations and profits, that is, how much returns investors expect to earn, are more crucial in determining investment. In simple words, entrepreneurs invest not just because loans are cheap, but because they expect good returns from their project. So Keynes identified two key determinants of investment. What are they? MEC or marginal efficiency of capital and also rate of interest. Marginal efficiency of capital and also rate of return or rate of interest. So investment decisions depends on the relationship between these two things. So what is meant by this MEC or marginal efficiency of capital? MEC refers to the expected rate of profit or return from an additional unit of capital. It shows how much output or income a new investment like a machinery or factory can earn per year. So what is, I will tell you an example. Suppose a company buys a new machine for rupees 1 crore. Imagine it. And expect to generate rupees 5 lakh profit per year. Then the expected annual yield is how much? 5%. So MEC is also 5%. Okay. What is the next factor? Rate of interest or R. The rate of interest is the cost of borrowing funds or the returns a saver gets. So if the firm borrows at 4%, he must earn more than 4% to make the investment worthwhile. So if MEC is greater than rate of interest, investment is profitable. Firms will invest more. And if MEC is equal to rate of interest, no incentive to invest further. And if MEC is less than rate of interest, is investment profitable? No, investment is not profitable and firms will reduce the investment. Okay, I'll tell you another example. Suppose MEC is equal to 5% and rate of interest is equal to 4%. So decision, since MEC is 5%, that is greater than interest or 4%, investment is profitable. That is, we know that MEC is 5%, interest rate is 4%, and 5% is greater than 4%. That is, MEC is greater than rate of interest. Therefore, investment is profitable and the firm will invest more. And if the rate of interest rises to 6% and MEC is still 5%, what happens? MEC is now less than rate of interest and investment becomes unprofitable. Okay. Now, what are the types of investment decisions? There are two types of investment decisions. Mainly, there are two types of investment decisions. What are they? Private investment. First one is private investment. That means increase in private capital stocks like setting up a new factory or buying machinery. That is private investment. It is motivated by profit expectation. It directly depends on marginal efficiency of capital and also interest rate. And what about second one? That is public or government investment. It is done mainly for the welfare purposes like building roads, schools, colleges, hospitals and so on. So it is less affected by profit motives. Hope it is clear. Now let's move to the next part, that is relationship between rate of interest and investment. Let's recall Keynes' view. Keynes said that investment in an economy depends mainly on two things. What are they? Marginal efficiency of capital and also rate of interest. The rate of interest plays a crucial role in determining how much firms are willing to invest. So the rate of interest represents the cost of capital, that is the price firms must pay to borrow money. The MEC represents the expected returns from the investment project. Firms will invest only if the expected return, that is MEC, is greater than rate of borrowing. And when interest rate increases, many investment projects that were earlier profitable becomes unprofitable. That is, borrowing becomes costly. Hence, investment decreases. Let me tell you an example. Okay, if MEC is equal to 8%, when interest rate is 5%, investment is profitable. So firms will invest. And when interest rate is 9%, investment becomes costly and firms reduce investment. So higher interest rate discourage investment. Now let's look at another case, that is when interest rate decreases. When interest rate decreases, what happens? Borrowing becomes cheaper and even projects with lower returns become profitable. Therefore, investment increases. For example, if interest rate falls from 8% to 4%, what happens? More projects become viable, entrepreneurs increase investment spending. Now let's look at this graph. On the x-axis, there is level of investment. On the y-axis, it is rate of interest. the investment demand curve slopes downwards from left to right. What does it show? A downward sloping curve shows that it is an inverse relation. So here y-axis we are showing interest rate and the x-axis we are showing investment rate. So if there is a downward sloping curve, that means there is an inverse relationship between rate of interest and investment. That is, as interest rate falls, investment rises, and when interest rate rises, investment falls. So the summary is that the rate of interest and investment are inversely related. Higher interest rate leads to lower investment and lower interest rate leads to higher investment. And this inverse relation forms the demand investment curve or investment demand curve. I is always equal to function of R. Remember that. That is, investment is always equal to function of interest rate. Now let's look at the interest rate and investment. Let's think from a business point of view. When a company wants to expand, say they want to build a new factory or buy new machines, they need money. That money can come from borrowings from banks or using its own savings. Now here is the key. Whether or not the company actually invests depends a lot on the interest rate or not. Okay, so when the real cost of borrowing increases, that is, the interest rate rises, borrowing becomes expensive. So firms will invest less because only a few projects will now remain profitable. For example, if interest rate increases from 5% to 8%, then investment may fall from 100 crore to 80 crore. That's because 8% interest, many projects no longer give a high enough return to cover the cost of borrowing. Now, why higher interest rate reduce investment? Let's understand the two main reasons. What are those reasons? Let's understand it. First one is that borrowing becomes expensive. That means firms have to pay more interest to banks. So profit margin falls and it leads to less incentive to invest. And the second reason is opportunity cost. That is, opportunity cost increases. When interest rate rises, saving money in the bank becomes more attractive. Firms think, why invest in risky projects when we can earn good return just by saving or lending? So they start to invest in bank and hence investment falls. And what is the third reason? Third point, yes, when interest rate falls. If interest rate decreases, say from 8% to 5%, what happens? Borrowing becomes cheaper. Now, even when projects with slightly lower expected returns, they become profitable. Firms borrow more and investment increases. Hope you understand. Now let's move to the next part, that is marginal efficiency of capital. And it was introduced by J.M. Keynes. It means, or marginal efficiency of capital means the expected rate of returns on one more unit of capital investment. In simple words, we can say that MEC tells us how much profit a business expects from investing in one extra machine, building, or any capital assets. Let's look at the formal definition. MEC is the rate of discount, that is interest rate, which makes the present value of expected future income from a capital asset equal to its cost. That is, MEC is equal to rate that equates cost of capital, present value that is equal to present value of expected returns. Okay, I'll tell you an example so that you can understand it better. Suppose a machine cost 1 lakh, okay, and is expected to earn 30,000 per year for 4 years. The rate of return that makes the present value of 30,000 for 4 years is equal to 1 lakh, that is the marginal efficiency of capital. And what are the two main determinants of MEC? First one is prospective yield and the second one is supply price. Prospective yield means expected income from the asset during its life, and supply price is the cost of asset. Okay. Now, what are the factors affecting the MEC? First one is cost of capital asset. Cost of capital asset. That is, higher cost increases or reduces MEC? Yes, it will reduces MEC. Then expected rate of return. Higher expected profit raises MEC. Then market rate of interest. If interest rate rises, MEC must be higher for investment to be worthwhile. Then business expectation. Optimism about future profit rises MEC. Then technological progress. New inventions increase expected returns and it will lead to increase in MEC. What about political and economic stability? It will improve business confidence and leads to rise in MEC. So if MEC is greater than interest rate, it increases investment, and if MEC is less than rate of interest, it will lead to decrease in investment. Now, what are the short-run factors affecting MEC? In the short run, business expectations and temporary market conditions influence the marginal efficiency of capital. Okay, these factors can quickly raise or lower investment levels. What are those factors? First one, demand for the product. If demand for goods is expected to increase, producers expect higher profit and it leads to an increase in MEC. But if demand is expected to fall or production costs rise, expected profit will decrease and it will lead to fall in MEC. For example, if people suddenly want more electric bikes, companies expect higher profit and it will lead to rise in MEC and more investment will be there. Second factor is liquid asset. Firms holding more liquid assets like cash or easily available funds can quickly invest when opportunity arises. Hence, more liquidity is always equal to higher MEC. For example, a company with large cash reserves can easily buy new machines when prices drop because they have liquid money or liquid asset and it will boost MEC. Third factor, sudden changes in income. When entrepreneurs get windfall profit or unexpected gains like lottery or something or tax concessions, their income and confidence increases and it will lead to rise in MEC. If income falls or taxes increase, MEC falls. For example, if government reduce corporate taxes, profit rise and MEC increases and it will lead to investment rise. Fourth factor, current rate of investment. If too much investment has already taken place in a particular industry, the return from additional investment falls and that leads to decrease in MEC. Conversely, if the industry is underinvested, new investment can bring higher returns and MEC rises. For example, if too many companies invest in real estate at once, profit margin falls and MEC will drop. Next factor, waves of optimism and pessimism. Business expectations play a major role. In periods of optimism, firms expect higher profit and MEC increases. In periods of pessimism, that is recession or fear of losses, expected profit drops and MEC decreases. For example, if businesses expect the economy to boom, they invest more and MEC rises. If they fear a slowdown, they hold back investment and MEC falls. Okay, then now let's look at the long run factors. There are many long run factors that affect investment: rate of growth of population, technological progress, then monetary and fiscal policies, political environment, resource availability, and so on. Okay, let's study it in the next class. Thanks for watching. For more related contents, do like, share, and subscribe.